And joined by Luke Jones, and we do a lot of storytelling here this week, and this is a week where a lot of guys that have books or movies or played the game at some level come by. Vernon Turner was a longtime NFL player about 20 years ago in the early 90s. People remember you. You got the old Tampa Bay, the creamsicle orange buckaroo here, and you were buck in the mid-90s, as well as playing a bunch of other places. But, man, you got a hell of a story to tell, and apparently a movie's going to be made about your story, right?
Yeah, it's crazy because Players Tribune, which is founded by Derek Jeter and Jamie Messler, they came across a synopsis of my story. They approached me and they asked me to do a letter to my younger self.
And that's their gig, right? They do a lot of that at Players Tribune.
Oh, they're
right?
awesome.
Players Tribune.
Yeah, they do quite a few of those.
Letter to your younger self is their signature thing they do.
They have several platforms, but the one that they thought it was most fitting for my story was a letter to my younger self. And the reporter just asked me two questions. V, if you had a chance to go back in time, where would that be? And what would you say to that younger self? And all he did was hit record. And we had my letter. And I guess it was so compelling and it reached out to so many people that Derek and Jamie.
Now, this was last year, right? Last spring?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Derek and Jamie had a conversation and they summoned me to New York. Back home to New York. I sat in the office, and then they wanted to option out my rights to do the movie. Now, my rights were already optioned out, but they purchased it from the existing production company, which is Magic Hour Production, and they took it over. And it's scary, man. It really is, because it's one thing to have your life in the form of a book, but to now have people portray your life real fashion and real form.
We had Rudy by here the other day, so
yeah, I saw him, man. I wanted to chase him down, but I had a couple other interviews. I wanted to say hello to him because he was one of several stories that inspired me to take my story to the next level.
Well, let's talk about your story. Now, you're a typical kid from New York, right? Trying to play football, right? I mean, literally, right?
Well, it wasn't just a typical situation, guys. I'm originally from Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. At the time, as far as back as I can remember, my brother and myself, we lived in my grandmom's house. My mom was out in the street. She was a severe drug addict. She was a prostitute. And one day she came home and she says, "We're leaving," told my grandmother. She shipped us off within 2 weeks from the time that she said that. And we went from predominantly all black, African-American, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, to Staten Island, New York, was predominantly white. Now, back in the 70s, we had some issues, worse than it is now, and when it comes to race. And the guy that picked us up was a white guy. I wasn't around white people before, and I was scared. I was about 6.5 years old, shipped us off. Let's fast forward a little bit. It didn't take long for my mom to start reproducing. She had a total of 5 kids. I'm the oldest of 5. Okay, she was still heavily on the drugs, severely on the drugs. I was cooking dinner, changing diapers, braiding hair, caregiving at age 9. While my mom,
you know who has this story that we hear? Torrey Smith,
right,
of the Ravens, had a very, very similar path where he was a parent as a child to siblings, literally acted in a parental role.
Look, Ness, I'm telling you guys, it was something that is. People, until they actually see it, they're not going to believe it. I mean, at age 11, I came home from school, rushed home from school, threw my books down, and I rushed into the bathroom. And I knew my mom did drugs, guys, but I never actually visually saw it. I opened up that door, the needle was in her arm. She was pressing the poison in her arm. And I screamed at her, like, "What are you doing?" She summoned me in that bathroom. I said, "If you know it's going to kill you, why are you doing this?" And she told me about a story, and it changed my life. She told me about a story when she, on her way home from school at 18 years old, 2 guys grabbed her, drug her up on the top of a roof, third man waiting, and they brutally gang raped her. And they were going to throw off that roof, but they heard someone coming. They threw her to the ground, and they took off. 2 weeks later, she finds out she's pregnant. Now, I'm going to rewind a little bit, because there were times when my mom would look at me, and she would look through me, it was such a cold look. I had to look away. It was so bad at times, guys. So when she told me the story, it's shame for me to admit it, I'm a product of her horrific attack. I'm a product of that. And sometimes when she looked at me, I was a reminder of that. So from that moment on, at age 11, I felt like trash for many years, guys. In addition to me caregiving and the whole 9, I just felt like garbage, low self-esteem. I was pissed, I was upset, I was shameful. I needed an outlet. my stepdad, who I kept at a distance for the longest time, introduced me to the game of football. For a little dude, I had so much anger built up inside me, I unleashed it out on the football field.
When's the first time you touched a football? Were you 11?
I was 11 years old. Yeah, about 10, 11 years old. I got
But you
hooked
weren't a
on
kid
it.
watching the Jets and the Giants at 9 or 10, right?
Oh, actually, you know what? My idol was Walter Payton.
Okay.
I love Walter Payton. I always wanted to be a running back. Ended up going to high school. Ended up being a freaking quarterback. Okay, at this size. So I got so obsessed
How
with.
big are you?
I'm 5'9", 185 pounds. But back then, I was 5'6", 96 pounds.
Right.
So it was. Trust me, guys. When you see the actual,
You were
story
never
come
in the
alive-
back of the classroom as the tall guy in your class.
Oh, heck no,
You
man.
and I never had that
No,
going on.
no, not at all. Not at all. So, I got obsessed with this game, and my mom knew that. And she used football to keep me in line. And she taught me a valuable lesson, but I didn't understand what she was trying to do back then. I understand now. You take care of home first, then you go out and play. Every time I did something wrong, she would take football away. And every time I formed more and more resentment to her. Got into high school, freshman year. Never forget this, guys. At the end of my freshman year, I got elevated to varsity for my sophomore year. So
That's a big deal.
Yeah, at 120 pounds.
But that's a big deal for any kid to make the varsity.
Yeah,
team.
I was psyched. I could not go to sleep without a football in my hand, man. I was that obsessed, and my mother knew that. And I can never forget this, guys. Off-season workout program. Told my mom I'm going to go out, go to off-season. She says, no, you can't go to an off-season workout program. You messed up on your chores. You didn't take care of this, didn't take care of that. You're grounded. I stared at her like I never stared at her before, man. And I ran to my room. I never forget this, and I went to my knees. And I begged and pleaded God that she would die. And 72 hours later, she was gone.
Wow.
And I'll never
You
forget.
14 years old? 15?
15 years old.
15 years old. Wow.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that, and I'll never forgive myself because I remember going to the funeral, and we lived about a half mile away from the gravesite. I told the family to leave. I just want to stick around. I was just rambling, I guess. I just remember when I ran to the room and I prayed that you would go. I said, I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean that. I didn't mean it. So I don't think I'll ever forgive myself.
Hey, man,
for that.
Get some water. Get some water. We got Vernon Turner here telling a story. There's going to be there's a book. There's going to be a movie. You can follow the journey. You can follow him at Vernon M. Turner out on Twitter. There's a great picture of you in Rams gear. That's old school Rams, though.
Yeah, it's old school.
What is old is new again, right?
Yeah.
Now, your journey into the NFL, you bounced around a little bit early on. I mean, you even went over and played over in Europe in the World Football League. That's Brian Baldinger's favorite league, by the way. Whenever he speaks very highly of all things the WA. But you were trying to get back into the league at that point. But you had a nice little run here especially for a guy your size from Bedford-Stuyvesant, right?
Well, but believe it or not, I was done. What I wanted to do was wanted to travel, and I didn't want to pay for it. I was very frugal.
I
wanted to travel abroad, so that was a perfect opportunity to experience Europe and not pay for it. So I
get paid to be there.
I spent 2 years in the NFL Europe, and you're talking to a guy that had no business playing in the National Football League at all because at my senior year in college, my dad passed. So I had no one to take care of my family.
Now, you went to, Tennessee or something like that?
Yeah, I went to Carson Newman College in Tennessee, and I had my aunt move into my home when my dad passed my freshman year in college. And that whole process, everything was fine. My senior year hits, my aunt tells me that she can no longer take care of the kids. So I panicked. And the first thing I did, I said to myself, I got to turn pro. Called my high school football coach, who's my mentor and my everything. I told him I need to turn pro. He says, okay, let's get an agent. Hooked me up with an agent, and they just did it as a favor. These agents, Eastern Athletics, Tony Agnone,
Tony's from Baltimore. We know Tony
yes,
well.
He did it as a favor to Dino
Tony
Mangiero.
Represented a whole lot of Penn State people.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, basically they felt it was a waste of time. They didn't understand what I was up against at that time. Make a long story short, guys, I went from at the start, I even reached out to Walter Payton. Wrote a letter to him, letting him know what I was going through. He replied with his training regimen. And you talk about a training regimen from hell.
Oh, his is legendary.
I don't think I went from 4.55s in the 40 to 4.33s.
Wow.
4.34s in the 40. And that was the only reason why I got even a look.
Noticed, right?
I got a look. at all. I had to train and teach myself two positions I've never played before, wide receiver and punt return, because I was a running back and a quarterback. So I had to learn those two positions in 8 weeks, okay? And I go out in training camp. Denver, I didn't get drafted, didn't go to any combines, no Senior Bowls. I just tried out. I got an opportunity to go to the Denver Broncos with John Elway, Dan Reeves, the coach at the time,
Sure.
1990. I made it to the last cut, and then I just fell apart in the last preseason game. Coach Reeves said, "You're going to have a really good career in this league, but not here." And he sent me to the airport. And I was panicking, guys, because I had no means to support my family. I begged God on that airplane to give me one more shot. By the time I got to the other side, the Buffalo Bills wanted to sign me. It was a part of the I was on a practice squad, but I was a part of the Super Bowl 25. We missed the field goal wide right.
We're aware.
Can't forget it. Yeah, I know.
We've discussed that with Marv Levy
Yeah.
and Jim Kelly
Yeah.
and Thurman Thomas.
But I tell you what, guys, from where I started to get an opportunity to be the first man ever to return a punt for a touchdown with the Buccaneers, that was the icing on the cake, because I did it against a team that cut me the year before with the Detroit Lions. So it was like a storybook dream of mine. And
that's why, like, the Bobby Ross Lions, right?
Yeah. No, it was Wayne Fonts.
Wayne Fonts,
It was
all
Wayne
right.
Fonts. And I tell you what, guys, I look back now, and I had no business doing the things that I did. And the only reason why I made the National Football League was because if I did not make it, my brothers and sisters were going to foster care. There was no other means of supporting my family.
How's your family?
We're blessed, man. We really are blessed. The only tragic.
Well, if there's going to be a movie, I got to have a happy ending at some point.
You know, I tell you what, where I started, where my family started, and where I ended, I should have been a victim. I could have used that victim card, but I refuse of my circumstances. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be a victim of my DNA. I'm not going to be a victim of my circumstances. The gift that God gave me and my mom gave me, no one would have faulted my mom had she had an abortion. No one would have faulted her had she given me up for adoption, but she kept me. You know, and in return, I got to pay this forward. My way of doing that is to sharing the story, because I don't want anyone going through what I'm going through right now. I'm living in a small hell right now. Hopefully, when I start helping other people, maybe I'll get some peace inside. But right now, I'm on a mission to get this thing global. And that's what this whole film project is all about. You know, I'm not here for the accolades. I don't really care about that stuff. My thing is to make sure that I help as many people as I can before I leave this earth.
You know, I've been covering the game for 21 years, and you know, I wrote a book 4 years ago about the Ravens when they won. And you know, the first time they won, you know, I wrote sort of a memoir. The second time around, I really tried to figure out the journeys of what brings these people together to touch that trophy. And the Patriots will have their story, the Falcons will have, and they have kids that have lost parents and have had, you know, Torrey Smith. I wrote several pages of his journey, not a whole lot dissimilar to yours, different twists and turns, but, you know, that is the story of a lot of athletes in America, of how the kids get to this level is through hardship and through, you know, trapdoors and blocks. And, you know, everyone has a unique story to tell, but there are a lot of one parent, no parent, broken homes. You know, that is the story of the league. I mean, maybe that's something they want to shine up or talk about, but underneath, when you peel back the onion, you know, there's a lot of troubled kids that use football that talk about their coach, their high school coach, as being a parental figure or finding that parental figure.
Well, I hope
Ed Reed has an unbelievable story with his family, you know?
I hope and pray that people just stop saying, well, I don't want my kid to be playing football because of the danger of it. You walk out your house is dangerous, okay? My thing is that if you're taught the right way, the right techniques, it's just as safe as any other sport out there. My thing is that this is one of the greatest sports in the world. It teaches you every tool you need to be a productive citizen in this world. Toughness, sportsmanship, competitive edge.
Homework.
Yes, discipline. It teaches you everything about life. And when I hear people talk about how they don't want their kids to be a part of that, that bothers me. It really does. My thing is that if we teach these kids the right way, we teach them do it the right way the first time, guess what? They're going to be fine. My thing is that, you know, we're all a role model, especially athletes. I don't care what Charles Barkley said. We're a role model, like it or not. These kids are watching, and they're listening to every single damn thing we say, man. And it's up to us to be an ambassador, not only to the sport, but to our families. You know what I mean? And I'm not
You coaching ball?
I do coaching. I train. I do personal training. I'm touring as far as my book signings. I keep busy. I really do. And this book the film project is off the charts. It's going to keep me extremely busy. So I do interact in social media as far as Facebook and Twitter with all my fans and young athletes. They contact me all the time.
Right.
And I enjoy that. I really do. So
I want to talk about the book. The book is called The Next Level, A Game I Had to Play. You can Google that up and find that at Amazon. If you buy it on the GiveASpit.com website, you help our friends at There Goes My Hero. We got our own stories around here, Vern. Don't worry about it. Vernon M. Turner's the way to find him out on Twitter as well. NFL alum, author, and a motivational speaker. I want to run through a wall right now. I mean, we woke up this morning here in Houston. I don't want to tell stories, but one of my favorite breakfast places is here, and I took Luke over there. Now look at Luke. He's got bags under his eyes. We had all this food this morning, and we were all tired, and we needed some inspiration. So you were a gift to us today. How about that? You picked it up around here.
I tell you what,
us.
look, Ness, I appreciate it. I know I was running late today.
I had too much
That's
grits
all
and
right.
catfish. You put too much butter, then the biscuits came, and oh, hell. I mean, I need some caffeine. You were caffeine for the show today, Vern.
Well, I appreciate that, and I do apologize for getting too deep as far as breaking a little bit, but I'm just so passionate about this project, and what I have to do is something
Never
that I have to get
apologize
done.
for passion now.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
Has it? And you talked about the anguish you still feel. Has it helped the last few years sharing your story with others?
Cathartic.
Has it been? Yeah.
I've done hundreds of interviews, man, and you would think that it would be redundant and it'll get old. But when I hit certain aspects of it and I relive, it's like
Sure.
I'm reliving it all over
Understand.
again. And it's like I'm living in a nightmare that I can't get out of. So I've seen therapists, and the best advice that I got thus far is, you know what, Vernon? You've held it in for so long. You've refused to think about it for over 30
Right.
some odd years, and you finally make a decision to turn a book into you share it in a book, in the form of a book. Now you let it out, one big goof. It's not going to be overnight that you're going to come to grips with this. It's going to take time. The more you talk about it, the more you just face it head on, the better off you're going to be on the tail end. My thought process is, when I see my story, my journey helping other people, I'm hoping and praying then I get some peace.
Right. I
can get some peace then. But I'm on a mission, man, and my thing is that if it helps one person, it does help me, because I can tell you a few stories that has helped me a little bit in regards to seeing a kid transform before my eyes after hearing my story in his relationship with his parents. It's from him being a really combative kid to him just walking up to his parents, hugging them, and telling them that he loves them. That's what I'm talking about, and I want to do that at a global level.
Where's home for you?
Right here.
Oh, all right. So Houston. All right. So
Yeah.
big deal down here. This little Super Bowl thing, right?
Yeah, it's really awesome. I think they're just overwhelmed with excitement and all. It's a who's who of sports and entertainment here, and they're having a good time out here.
Well, it's great seeing you, man. Thanks for sharing your story with some great emotion.
We're praying for you, man.
Thanks a lot.
You'll
Luke.
be
Thanks,
memorable
Ness.
around here. Vernon M. Turner's the way to find
God
him
bless
out
you.
on Twitter. You can also check out the book. When I put my reading glasses on, I'll be dude, getting old sucks. You and I are the same age. You got reading glasses
I'm 50
yet?
years
Sucks.
old. I
I'm
turned
48.
50, and I still plan on doing my 40-yard dash test, my very last one, and I plan on clocking under 4.5 in a 40.
Very
That's my
nice.
goal.
Well, I will be the guy chasing you. The book is The Next Level, a game I had to play. Vernon M. Turner, great having him by. We're live at Super Bowl 51. We're in Houston, Texas, here at the George R. Brown Convention Center, Radio Row. Luke and I are rocking around. Nasty at WNST.net, the way to find me. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, and, of course, streaming live on our Facebook Live, as well as our YouTube WNS TV channel. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore. And we never stop talking Baltimore sports.